Hi, everyone. My name is Ben Wright Human, cartoonist extraordinaire, and welcome to the first art live stream in a while. We're doing a random roll character generation situation in honor of me opening up commissions for the first time in a long time. That is going to be it's just something that I do for a little bit, make a little bit of extra cash, and as part of that, we're going to do a little exercise that I did once before and really enjoyed, where we're basically going to be creating a Dungeons and Dragons character and random rolling pretty much all the stats. I have the basic setup going. I've got the screen up. Let me show that. Ooh, why are you tiny? There we go. That's better. Better that I'm tiny. Can I move me? All right, I'm over on the side. That's cool. But yeah, we've got character commissions are officially open. You can get there by going to bwhcomics.com/commissions. There is a link down below. You can also find that here. We got in the comments, Kelsey, hey, I am taking a page out of your book and actually doing commissions or live streaming art for once. So hopefully that's going to be awesome. I'm sorry. I'm rushing because my computer's been doing all kinds of weird stuff. But let's go ahead and get jumping right into it. Now, we're going to be random rolling as much as possible from this. And unlike last time where I used a lot of computer-generated rolling, I actually have a whole ton of dice right here. So we're going to be doing this correctly. Now, let's see. Going through character creation, the most basic thing we're going to want is to start with your basic statistics, because that'll end up telling you a lot about a character. I need... Going to be doing straight up math. About dang time he started streaming art again. Yeah, I know I needed to do it, but I've been enjoying the game stream so much. I just finished The Good Life, so it was a good time to do it. All right, first rolls of the night. We're doing 4d6 drop 1. I am going to go straight down the line. This is not a strong character. We are starting with 7. It's in the bottom one. I always forget. Looks like they're pretty dexterous, though. Got 13. Rolling for Constitution. Very high Constitution. We've got 16. Reasonably smart, too. Got 12. Not crazy, but better than average. Wisdom is 10, so exactly average. And finally, Charisma. Charisma's low. It's going to be 8. All right, just so we have it referenced. Very weak. Slightly dexterous. Pretty beef. Reasonably smart. Not that charming. Okay, these are just the basic stats. That might change once we figure out the lineage and heritage stuff. We are using 5e rules for all this, but let's see. Over to the top. Let's pick race next. Now, that is going to be something that I'm going to be going off of DnDBeyond, which has all the different heritages and lineages you could possibly have from all the books. So I got to roll big. It's time to break out the D100. And I'm just going to go down the list until I hit that number. There it is. All right. Doing it with 2d10. 28. That should actually be pretty easy to find. You know what? Let me bring this over because I'm actually sharing a screen for once as opposed to an individual window. races. Feel free to count along with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What did I get? I said 28. Already lost count. There we go. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's kind of cheating. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. We've got an orc. All right, let's see what that changes based on the numbers we've already got. That's a little bit stronger. I am just going off the rules in here as opposed to using any of the variant stuff. Okay, so only a -1 on strength. Still nice that it's a minus. I like all the stats to have minus. Yay, my orc boys. That's right. And what was the other one? Ooh, Khan gets even beefier. I don't think, yeah, it's got to be 18 for it to go up 1 from there. I'm not going to worry too much about a lot of the other stuff. We might as well write it out. Speed 30. Dark vision. Aggressive. Ooh. I'm going to get some free... I don't think I've actually built an orc using this system before. But the primal intuition stuff is going to be nice. Get some extra skills. We'll build. And you get orc as a language. All right. Well, we got those basics. See what else we've got. Let's do background next. I'm going to do another D100 roll because there are too many crazy backgrounds you could possibly have. 56. Let's see. Anyone knows a better way than just counting? I'd love to know because that's just always how I tend to do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 50. Ooh, investigator. Ooh, I get to make a detective boy. Background. Investigator. Gonna be able to pick some fun stuff there. Cool. Okay, now let's figure out a few of the other points that'll affect stuff. I'm going to roll another D10, re-rolling a 0 to figure out alignment. I got a 0. 7, lawful evil. Nice. Yes, Detective Orc. I always like lawful evil. It's kind of an interesting one because it's systemic greed, usually is how I tend to play it. This is going to be level 1, by the way, whatever we end up going with. But I think we're actually on the right track. All right. So we've got the only thing this character has that's particularly high is Constitution. That doesn't lend itself to a lot of different classes because most of them con is helpful, but it's not necessarily what you want to be the number one stat. I only know of one where when I've played it, that's really what you want to have in high numbers. I'm kind of thinking that might be what I want to go with, and that would be Blood Hunter. Blood Hunter, it really helps to have high con. And that actually, if you go for kind of like the Witcher thing, it does make a lot of sense for them to be an investigator. Like I think that's probably what I'm going to do. That's one of the only things I don't random roll because the stats kind of tell you who they're going to end up being. Lawful evil is fascinating. Like, I will use the rules to achieve my own ends. Yes. I really like the way I always play evil in D&D campaigns, or I try to when you're not in a setting that there are strict mechanics for how good and evil actually work. Like there are planar places for it. I like to play evil as selfish and good as altruistic. So you're not a monster if you are labeled evil. You just do things based on your own self-interest as opposed to anything else. And if you're good, you tend to act for other people instead of for yourself. And I tend to do it much more loose because I don't know, some of the alignment stuff is definitely a little wibbly wobbly, but that is generally how I do lawful evil for a lot of stuff. I have had characters that are very manipulative of systems who are in fact chaotic evil because they don't believe in the system. They're just abusing it in order to get what they want, and would abuse anything else if they had the opportunity. So there are definitely interesting ways you can take it. All right, so we've got those basic stats. I'm going to bring up another window. Let's start putting in Blood Hunter stuff. Blood Hunters are awesome, by the way. If you haven't had a chance to play them, they're a lot of fun. It is technically unofficial material, but it's on DnDBeyond as a major class. It's balanced well. This ought to be in there. Like, this is this generation's Artificer in a lot of ways. Okay. So we've got +3 on con. So hit points are going to be 13 at level 1. Okay, cool. All right, we've got a ton of skills also. Like, that's actually one thing that's going to be pretty interesting because both the background and being an orc gave different skill proficiencies. I actually need to bring the orc one back up. Ooh, there we go. I actually heard that these stats for orcs are not particularly well thought out. I haven't messed with it myself, but I have friends who min max a lot, and they're like, "Yeah, if you want to play an orc, use the half orc rules. They're better for some reason." Let's see. Okay. If I get 2 from there, 3 from here, and 2 from here, I get 8 skill proficiencies. How many skills even are there? I don't know off the top of my head. There are 18. So I almost get to take half of the skill proficiencies. That's kind of cool. So what would this person be good at? Okay, so they have to have insight, investigation, or perception. Or 2 of the 3. I'm going to say insight is the low one. So let's go investigation and perception. Blood Hunter gives you, oh, I left it. Free from acrobatics, maybe. Arcana, maybe. Athletics. Probably not. They actually are not particularly strong. Like, I could take that to kind of make up for it. Investigation. Duh. Yeah, I was more wondering between perception and insight, but I think perception I kind of like better. I like the idea that maybe they don't read people as well. I could also get insight through here if I wanted to. Take some points in history. All right. History is a really weird one in D&D. Like, it never gets, it's so rare for it to, it's never clear to me what it's supposed to be used for. The best thing I've ever seen it used for is it's basically how people do rolls from memory. Like, if the DM's like, oh, you forgot about something? Here, roll to see if you actually remember it. All right, so there's one in history. Let's also do, I'm going to give acrobatics because I think it's a good idea to have at least one of those, and this will build off the dex. And I think I can get survival through the orc race. Yeah, I'm inclined to do that. So instead, why don't I do, I'll go Arcana probably. I use history checks a lot when DMing my game that takes place in a celestial university. Also a good skill check to employ on bards. That's true. Actually, it's fun to think of it as scholarship also, like how well you've read on stuff or other nerdy type classes. I may be playing a bard soon for a Pathfinder game. So thanks for calling us nerds. I'm going to go with Arcana, I think, as the other one. And now for the orc one, yeah, I'm definitely going to do survival. Let's see. I feel like I should have intimidation. Do you know what I mean? Like, it may not be my top skill. Charisma may not be the top skill, but that's something that it's always good for. I feel like if you're playing an orc, it's just almost a given that you want to take that. You're welcome, nerd. Sincerely, a fellow nerd. Thanks, fellow nerd. All right, let's see. I'm just going to write in the pluses on the ones that I already have. You're an orc, of course, get intimidation. Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking. So this is normally +1. It's going to be +3. I probably don't need to write all these in, but it helps for my brain to be able to see them. And it'll make it a lot quicker to look at it and remind myself, oh yeah, I'm good at that. Three, perception +2, survival +2. Okay, cool. So we've covered a lot of the very basic stuff. Actually, one thing that we're going to need to do in a second is come up with a name. And one of the things that I think a part of that first is going to be figuring out gender identity. Actually, Kelsey in the chat, you might be able to help me with this. Is there a good way to roll for gender identity? Like, I kind of in the past on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for male, female, non-binary, but I'm wondering if there's a better way to do that. Give it a second while I prepare one of the only digital rolls I'll do, which is going to be for the letters of the alphabet to figure out the name. There we go. All right, I am going to go ahead and roll that. 14. That's I always do the alphabet whenever I have to do this. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N. All right. That's going to be names starting with N. And Chad hasn't updated, so I'm just going to go ahead and do what I said before. Roll a d6. And it's going to be 1, 2 for male, 3, 4 for female, 5, 6 for non-binary or other. 6. Non-binary. I've got a name starting with M. Oh, wait. How did you do it? 1 male, 2 female, 3 cis, 4 trans, 5 non-binary, 6 agender. All right. Let's go with, I rolled a 6 anyway, so we'll go with agender. All right. And we've got a name that's going to start with M. I always like to go guttural with orc. Well, one of the things I try to think about with orc language whenever I'm putting it into a setting, I try to think actually about the jaw structure of an orc, because they develop large tusks, which would affect their lips and the way that they would speak. Now, if you've ever like gone full nerd and like put something in your mouth to try and replicate that, you could find you could speak somewhat normally, but certain words are tougher. So a lot of sound effects, I just try to push out my jaw and figure out what sound you'd have with it. If you're going with M, you'd probably, or no, it's N, letter N. I was one off. If you're going with N, you're going to want to, I guess that's not a hard sound. N. I'm just going to start putting in random letters, because why not? Isn't that how fantasy names work? Norvek? Does that work? Norvek. Yeah, you're Norvek now. Knock? Okay. I will shorten. Knock. Anyway, all right. So we have Knock the Blood Hunter. Let me write that in there too. All right, let's go over everything we've come up with so far. We've got Knock, an orc blood hunter. Investigator is a background, lawful evil. They are not particularly strong, but they're somewhat quick. Big constitution, very beefy in that sense. Smart and not particularly charismatic. So there's a lot we can work on from there. Let's go a little bit into the equipment they'd have, because that'll affect how we draw them. But we are about ready to get into that before too long. All right. They can start with a martial weapon or 2 simple weapons, a light crossbow and 20 bolts, setted leather armor or scale mail armor, an explorer's pack, and alchemist supplies. They're not particularly dexterous. I'm kind of inclined to go with the scale mail. I think that's going to look cool. If I recall correctly, it's a medium armor. So, stop it. Just regular scale mail. Thank you. Thank you. Disadvantage on stealth. I'm okay with that. I actually didn't give them a stealth score. I don't think they're super sneaky about what they do. Let's start putting their important equipment in there. Scale mail. And it gives them 14 plus dex, so 15. This character's probably going to be a decent tank. Maybe not a lot else, but that much they'll be able to do reasonably well. All right, back to weaponry. Let's see. Explorer's pack, alchemist supplies. We don't need to worry too much about that stuff. I'm not going to be drawing with a pack. I feel like the crossbow is going to be a big part of their arsenal. Let's see. Oh, just because we picked a gender, I'm going to go ahead and write in there. Let's see. Now, martial weapons. That's going to be another fun thing to figure out. Nope, wrong. Not that kind of tool. Equipment. I just realized something. Call me crazy, but when it says on there 2 types of weapons, one of the original concepts for the Blood Hunter was the Witcher. Like that was one of the bases for it. Were they thinking of the 2 swords? Is that why they have that? That'd be pretty funny. I'm inclined to go with a martial weapon. Martial. Okay. I think we'll stick with the crossbow, but what would they use up close? No, it would probably be something that's finesse. Let me add the finesse tag in there. Oh man, I'm so tempted to do the whip. Oh, if I remember correctly, whips are not particularly good in this system. You know what? I said crossbow is going to be the main thing they use. I kind of like the idea of them having a whip. I'm doing that. Oh, good. You approve. I will take it. All right. All right. So we've got a whip. We have a light crossbow. How many bolts? That is enough to start drawing this character. Going Indiana Jones up here. You know, I was thinking about if I wanted to take it in that direction because I kind of like the idea. Ooh, wait a minute. You're an investigator with blood hunter abilities. Like, I hate to give this thing colonial vibes, but it's almost like a grave robber type situation, if that makes sense. Like, they are classified as evil. I feel like maybe we could. I'm going to start on the art part, like actually drawing up the shape. Let me know in the chat if that's a bad idea. Uh, but I could be interesting. All right. Back to having all this out. He is lawful evil. Make him a grave robber. All right. All right. I'm going to go for it. Like, I'm not condoning this type of thing, but that is appropriate. Let's see. Let's figure out the basic shape. Hmm. Dude, you don't have to condone the actions of any character you create, regardless of what social media weebs say. I agree. I'm also trying to be a little bit sensitive since this is an issue that you sometimes have to be careful with. Let's see. But it is okay to make characters that you consider morally wrong. Even characters that are heroes can be morally wrong because they have to have something to learn over the course of the trip. All right. I'm debating if I want to keep with a basic stance or if I want to. Nope. You know what? I know how I'm going to do this. We're going to do classic upraised crossbow. Make them a little bit wider. I think I am also going to give them a little bit of a Cuban heel. So let's get the foot up and make sure that the balance is still right. Lawful evil main character learns a lesson and changes along the way. You mean like Darth Vader? Yeah, Darth Vader is one of the best examples I see brought up as lawful evil. Like a classic example of, okay, this is how you normally would do it. All right, I think this will give me the basis I need. Oh, wrong one down. Let's figure out what else we have. I'm actually going to give him a bit of a head tilt. One of the things that's nice when you're doing orc over half orc is your tusks get to get a little bit silly long. Ooh. No. I had kind of an idea, but I feel like it would not in any way work. I was thinking of giving them an eyebrow piercing that is their tusk, but then they couldn't talk, could they? I'm still thinking like this character has a lot of piercings. I'm actually thinking Liberty spikes for the hair. Also a perpetually raised eyebrow. Little sass. because fantasy hair gel and hairspray must exist in D&D. Now, if you're going to be a blood hunter, you have to have a way of probably using blood, but also potentially, I just had a fun idea. Also potentially other ways you could drain your vitality. But it's pretty common to do blood hunters with like no sleeves so that they can cut themselves when necessary. Gonna have like a little, too long. I'm thinking the tusk is broken, so they've got a little cap on top of it. Probably a fun story on how that got broken. Let's make this other tusk longer just to emphasize that it's short. Should probably do that hand after I have a reference handy for what a crossbow looks like, but I mean, fantasy crossbow can look like anything. Also, I'm not sure if the Blood Maledict would actually allow you to enchant a crossbow to affect things, but I'm going to say that's what this person can do because it's cooler. All right, let's see. What else can I do with this? Well, we got to figure out how the scale mail works in and whether or not they wear it underneath something. They spend a lot of time outdoors, so I'm going to give them like a shoulder shawl. This is starting to look a little bit like post-apocalyptic Mad Max, isn't it? I am okay with that. Did I just? Yeah, I did. Ah. Have the whip ready to hand. This gets oddly meditative. Ah. You know, I never done this method for doing scale mail, but it looks right and it feels good actually. Just doing this little quick like back and forth wave pattern. Actually looks very much like it. I'm actually wondering if I want to make it more like random objects because this is starting to go from fantasy to sci-fi a little bit. Like this, I kind of dig this post-apocalyptic look. I've actually got plans for a dark post-apocalyptic D&D setting that maybe this is going to end up a character for. Oh, need to get down There we go. I think I'm also going to give them a lot of pouches. All right. So we've got a lot of the basics. I'm going to finish up. No, wait, I've got it backwards. The behind the back bolts sheath, probably go there, pop out right there. Got to figure out the pants at some point. All right, I don't think the quarrels are going to be visible. I don't think the, here we go. Maybe pop the arm out a little bit. I like that they kind of look beefy, but they're not particularly beefy. It just, they're more sturdy than strong. That arm's way too small now that I look at it. Here we go. Better. All right. Now I'm also thinking they're going to have a lot of pouches and random stuff on them. We're going to Rob Liefeld it a little bit. And even though it doesn't specify, like when we were coming up with their supplies, I did not, in fact, give them a dagger. I'm giving them a dagger because everyone needs to have a dagger, right? Like, it's just practical to have a knife. And actually, all right, I'm not going to figure out the sheath just now. Let's do, don't know if I like that. It was an idea I wanted to try. I'm going to give them kind of greaves, which mechanically don't actually do that much in. I'm actually going to make even shorter pants. See if that solves it. Oh, right. I built them to have light Cuban heel. Yeah. Probably going to stick with, make it. There we go. All right. I'm going to have that link up to that belt. Have something else on the side there. I think we've got basic design. Let's shrink that arm a little bit because we've established not beefy. All right. I think we can actually jump into drawing them. See how knock. Oh, I haven't saved it yet. Do I have characters? That'll be close enough. Their name is Knock. All right. We're now on to the fun stuff. You know what? I talked about having eyebrow piercing. Let me go ahead and pop in a couple. Cap it. There we go. Actually, you know what I should put in here? Because I don't draw these that often, but let's pop in some spacers. This was originally supposed to be a definition line too, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it into a scar. Ah, I'm in an undo cycle. There we go. Let's see. Pop. Goes down into there. Ah. Okay, let's see. Rob Liefeld bag 1. Rob Liefeld bag 2. Pass under the arm. Pop down. Loop. Loop. into a side sheath. Lol, Liefeld bags. Yeah. You know, one of the things that has amused me in the last few years is that in some ways Liefeld has gotten a reputation boost because he's actually made fun of his own artwork. Like he's poked fun at his own style. And I find that interesting because for years he was talked about as the worst thing in comics, and now people are like, not the worst anymore. Art, maybe not everyone's favorite, but at least he's got a sense of humor about it. I'm gonna make this into like a hook. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend looking up Pouch Man, which is an illustration he did making fun of his love of pouches. Let's see. Oh, I forgot. I'm glad Liefeld can take a joke unironically. Yeah, I appreciate that he's it feels like he's done exactly what he should do for that kind of situation. A lot of people would have taken that kind of thing personally, and it seems like he hasn't. And I think he's doing better for it. Let's see. Yep. 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 I'm going to stick with the short, tight pants. Over these kicky legs. Yeah, I think this is actually going to fit quite nicely in as an NPC in a future project. I'm kind of excited for that. To be fair, Liefeld had a bigger positive influence with how he uses color. I actually don't know about this. Fill me in the chat. I'm mostly familiar with his work with line art. I'm not sure. I don't know about his color stuff. The other thing that Liefeld did that I quite like, though, is he was a big proponent of the idea of the issue zero, except he generally didn't like. He liked everyone starting on issue one and then later having an issue zero. I think the issue zero is actually a great thing to think about when you're putting together a story, like what happened right before. I just don't think his exact execution is necessarily what you want, but he was one of the pioneers on that. I actually have that also. Another comic artist talked about his use of color in a blog post, but I lost the link. Well, shame on you. No, but that's definitely something you should send me later because I'm curious about that. All right, let's get the hand going. Quick nail. That should be interesting. I have also heard Liefeld reference as one of the more positive influences on early Image comics. Never met any of them, but I have heard not great things from some people about Todd McFarlane, who is the other like major name and all that. But in general, I've heard decent stuff about Liefeld as a person. So more power to him. I'm glad he's getting a bit of a resurgence is the wrong word, but he's getting more respect than he used to get. I actually know a guy in the Columbus area who is working on doing a retelling of the Odyssey in a Liefeld style. Because he's like, it's perfect. It's the modern mythological overblown hero style. Which is a cool way to think about it. This crossbow looks awful. Hold on. Ah. There we go. I'm going to fix it in the next stage, actually. So we'll see what happens. Hands on hips are nice because there's so much less detail that you have to put in. You're just like, curl the fingers back. Good enough. All right, let's take a look. Did I forget any major spots on line art? No. All right. Now, I've started doing color in a bit of a different way. So let's see if I can incorporate it into this. I think to start, what's going to be a good, actually, this will probably make it like a good dirty rust color because I picture this not being well kept scale mail. Let's get the base layer color on there. And now, see if I can a little bit go in there. Try to work the pattern in there. It's a little bit of gray. And I'll emphasize it later during the shading layer, but this will get the start. Get that in there. Maybe have the side parts be a little bit cleaner. The cloak, I'm thinking, you know what? No, let's go for that's perfect, like a muddy green. Actually have it come down a little bit behind. I just realized it's only on the top and that will not stand. All right. Skin coloration. So orcs are typically done with gray and green. I've also seen tan start to pop up more and more, which I kind of like. I'm leaning towards tan, especially since we're doing kind of muddy colors here. How's that look? There is a reason I'm doing this on top of the line art, by the way. All will be made clear in a little bit. That works pretty well, actually. I think I'm going to stick with this. I like this color. Maybe I should add some tattoos on here too. Nice face tattoo. If tieflings are allowed to be the colors of the rainbow, orcs and half-orcs should be too. Agreed. I'm actually listening through Rusty Quill Gaming right now. And one of the characters is, I think, a half-orc, might be playing a full orc, I'm not sure. But she made a point of playing, like specifically going, making her black because the player was black and was like, I want, to see more characters like this in games. And so I guess that's sort of what's on my mind a little bit going for this tannish color. It's a little light for that, but I think it'll work. I think it seems to work with the rest of the color palette so far. Go there and there. Fanon is greater than canon. Oh, I see what you did there. Yeah. Let's see. Get it on there. Time to get to the legs. Get on there. There and there. Let's go. Nope. Need to go darker. Is that gonna? No, I was thinking about having very dark pants, but I'm not sure I like how that's coming out, actually. Let me try this. Maybe like a wine color. Is that better? I actually kind of like that. All right. And we'll use that other brown I was going to use for all the belts and stuff. Belts and stuff. Belts and stuff. Get this on there. You know what? No, I actually am going to want that to be a different color, I think. That on there. Go for lighter brown on the bags. On the sheath. Also on the quiver. Let's make the whip It's too bright. Like that. That's what the same color is. Oh, it kind of is. Let's try darker then. That'll work. Clean up around the edge because I want a nice tip there. Hide wrapped. Ooh, need to get a good wood color. That'll work. Clean. All right. Now we need to figure out the hair. I'm actually inclined, just for the fun of it, green hair spikes. I'm actually going to go ahead and say even the, I'm going to make that the natural hair color because I don't know, it's fun. Purplish eyes. Let's find a good yellowish. I think this will work. I'm going to dirty that up in a second, but there we go. I'm using a mixing brush that lets me bring in some of the color from around into it. Let's make that cap. Let's make it silver. Okay. Let me work a little bit more of this gray into the iris because it doesn't look quite right. Or not the iris, the white of the eye. Here we go. Oh, I haven't figured out. Use more of this deep. No, that looks wrong. Let's do you. Going for a lot of dark colors on this. Each on the feathering. And I'm going to use this color again for leg armor. This stuff is definitely rusted. Grab that again. Ah. I like to think that they can, that while they're not one for unarmed attacks most of the time, they can manage a decent kick every once in a while, and they wear leg protection for it. All right. So we've got initial coloring. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the pencils. And this is a trick I've been messing with lately. the magic spot for it. But if you do it just right, the line art actually kind of blends into the character model more, into the colors. And I've been experimenting with it. It's been fun. Now, let's get some shading done. I have been using the same color for shading for so long that I've memorized its hex. I don't know what that says about me. Right? Down, up into the muscle, down the side. All right. So one of my favorite things with creating characters is just the fact that you can come up with all the plot stuff for them, like detailed backstories, detailed everything. It's not until you draw them for the first time that you really know who they are. There's something about being able to look into a character's eyes that actually gives you so much information that you didn't have before. So much of their story and their deal. It's one of the best things about being an artist is that moment where you can just look at them and go, okay, I know who you are. I know what you're about. So the setting that I'm thinking this character belongs to, I'm calling for now Last Light of Hope. And it's basically, it's inspired by the game Darkest Dungeon, if anyone knows that. And sort of the idea behind it is something bad happened to the world generations ago. No one remembers exactly what it is, but this is basically classic zombie apocalypse situation. The dead stopped staying dead. Abominations from all over creation started showing up in droves. Humanoids died off by the millions. It has been an absolute disaster. And pretty much all that's left of humanity now resides in a single city. And the plot is, the campaign is basically around the city has made the decision that some of the people have to go just because they are unable to feed everybody. They are unable to maintain the resources necessary to keep everyone alive. And so the decision has been made that a well-armed group, a very large portion of the population, is going to leave and never come back. They're basically going off to form a new colony somewhere in the wastelands of the world. And you are part of the group that's going with them to make sure that they don't all die. You either will succeed and everyone and help rebuild society, or you'll die and hopefully everyone else will be able to survive. Like, that's the concept behind it. It's definitely not going to be a fun setting, or let me phrase that. All these games are fun, but it's not going to be a happy setting. It's dark. But yeah, I think this character actually might fit right in there. I think Nox might be, I'm thinking something along the lines of a resistance lead, maybe not a resistance leader, but a member of the local resistance, or maybe someone they meet out in the wastes who has survived somehow. Who is perhaps only really in it for number one, but is willing to do what they have to do in order to get ahead in this hellish landscape. Oh man, I forgot. I was thinking about giving them goggles too, but I think we're a little past that now. maybe future designs, they will have them. You know what? Let me go back down to the coloring layer. I want to add a little bit of back there. There we go. All right. One last step that has to be done when I use this method for coloring. Did I get that right? Oh, I didn't want it to follow adjacent pixel. Going to fill with white. Now, if I did this correctly, we should have a perfect, mostly perfect silhouette. Nice. One of the nice things about doing it with this method, it gets the panery look, but this will also work on as a character icon if someone were to want to put it onto a drop it into something like Roll20 or a similar type of program. All right, I'm going to do some detail touch-up, see if we can get some other stuff going here, but this is the basic version of this character. I actually have a fun idea. Why don't we try, I'm going to go with use you again. Let's do some tattoos. I'm not particularly knowledgeable about tattoo designs, but it's fantasy, so I suspect I can make it look like just about anything. Oh, and I never dealt with the fact that they would probably be absolutely covered in scars on their arms. That'll have to come up in a second. Going to have a inner arm tattoo. I'm increasingly trying to work tattoos into some of my characters' designs. I personally, like, no judgment on anyone who has them. I personally dislike tattoos. And it's something that I'm working on because it makes sense for some characters to have tattoos. I'm trying to get used to the idea of including them. They're also a pain to draw, so a little bit of that mixed in there. I'm gonna do this just as filler because there's some spots here. Ooh, good advice. Tattoos can be anything you want, but as someone who has been tattooed can tell you, outlines and borders are the most painful part to get done. Blended colors are less painful. So these, I guess, would have fairly sharp edges in theory. So I'm guessing they actually would hurt a bit. Well, I'm sure they all hurt a bit, but Let's see. I'll do a upper bicep one here. There we go. And in addition, I'm just going to make a quick extra layer for this. Making a scar layer. Because half of the thing with blood hunters is frequently cutting their own bodies. Also do some on the legs. All right, I think that's actually going to cover it. What time is it? Yeah, we've been going for a decent chunk of time. Looks like the stream's been running for an hour and a half. Do I want to do I actually might have time to do a second one of these. How would I want to do? You know what? I'm not going to do a second one from whole cloth, but I am going to actually work on another character design that I have in the pipeline that actually, Kelsey, since you're in the chat, I might be able to use your feedback on. One of the things that I am may be doing soon, I may be in a Pathfinder game set in a setting known as it's the Marwa Expanse, not Marwa. Marwa is a character from Critical Role. I'm blanking on the name, but it's a Pathfinder setting that is based on African mythology and is apparently very well researched, very well conceived. And one of it's a campaign called the Strength of Thousands is the campaign setting. And I'm designing a character for that and need to I'd like to try to incorporate some elements of African clothing design, like traditional African clothing design, and could use feedback on that because it's not a field I am particularly familiar with. So I actually have it partway done. I will bring that up so we can see what we're working with, and I'll do a little touch up with that. Here we go. This is John Day. John Day is one of the custom races for this area called Anadi, which builds heavily into African myths of Anansi. The Anadi are, in their natural forms, human-sized spiders. Happy to help however I can re-African art. Awesome. They're going to be a bard, is what I have statted out. And the big thing I've been trying to figure out with the clothing, because in their natural state, they look like giant human-sized, just spiders. And but they have gained the ability to turn into sort of an illusory humanoid form because they know that people are arachnophobic and they're trying to not scare people. So I'm working on that humanoid form, and I'm working on incorporating elements of African spiders into the design. I was actually playing. I don't want to bring up any images on the stream in case it freaks anybody out, but there's I think it's called um I want to say it's called a tiger spider, even though tigers aren't in Africa, but it's something like that where it's this orange and black patterning on the clothing or on the outside. And I was playing with doing that, but I also wanted to see if I could incorporate actual African clothing designs into the character. But yeah, I am looking forward to playing this one. Let's get that started. First, check out Is Nana the Were Spider? It's an indie comic created by a person of color all about Anansi. Okay, I will check that out. Is Nana. I'm looking at this off screen just because I don't want to trigger anyone with arachnophobia, but let's see. This looks spooky. I like it. This character is very deliberately trying not to be spooky, and they are hopefully reasonably successful. Oh, I'm going through Google Images, and there's some good art here. Okay, this is wild, but I think the spider, like I'm seeing the spider form of this character. I think it's the same type of spider that I was thinking of using. So I might move away from that. It's interesting because the official art for the Anati is based on the peacock jumping spider, I think is what it's called, which doesn't live in Africa. I want to say it's Australian. A second, African, especially West African cloth, focuses less on the shape and more on the patterns on the fabric. Patterns have hidden messages. That's interesting. I was kind of thinking along those lines. Patterns are sort of what I was most hoping to work with. I didn't realize there were hidden messages in the patterning, so I definitely need to do some research before I can go too deep in that. Some quick design things that I am thinking about doing. I like the idea that the clothing becomes parts of the spider when they transform. So I've done this top section as basically almost like a scarf that's tied around the top over the shirt, and also a scarf that is around the waist. When transforming, those become two of the sets of arms. That's like they'll basically unwrap and boom, their arms. And this wide sweeping part on the back becomes the I need a chart for spider terms. Not the thorax, the abdomen. Is the abdomen the part on the back? I think it is. But I can definitely pattern that with some fun stuff, actually. But it's looking like I probably want to do some research on this, so I might not actually work on this tonight. But this might be something for a future stream. Certain patterns and cloth types can also indicate which people you belong with. Apologies if I mispronounce this stuff. A Bogolanfini, for example, is worn by people in Burkina Faso. Yeah, definitely something I'm going to need to do more research on, if I remember right. One of the other fun things, the two little dots here on the head. I'm not 100% on this. I'm thinking about making those extra eyes, which will may look a little bit creepy. Will have no mechanical benefit. The reason for it is one of the other characters is going to be playing, is talking about playing a Golomi or Golomi. We're not sure how to pronounce it, but this is a creature. Like, the backstory on these things is fascinating. They, in their mythology, a massive disaster happened that caused most of the eyes of the world to be stolen. Golomi have tons of eyes, and they believe that anything with 2 eyes is going to try to steal their eyes. And so there's someone else in the party who might be playing one of those characters. And I was thinking, oh yeah, I will give myself extra eyes, so I'm not a 2-eyed being and they can trust me. But it's definitely rule fudging, so we'll see what ends up happening with that. All right, I'll have to hit you up for this. We'll have to do a group stream and really figure out how all this is going to work. Yeah, and I should hopefully have some availability. Cons have died down at the moment, and yeah, so we'll have to figure that out. For now, though, I think I am actually going to go ahead and wrap up. Once again, we have... Didn't change anything here. We have Nock, the Orc Blood Hunter, and Grave Robber. If I do incorporate Nock into Last Light of Hope, they will probably be resource scrounging from the surrounding Deadlands, and hopefully won't be... if you run into them, they might try to put a crossbow bolt between your shoulder blades, but who knows? Maybe they'll be really nice and not enchant it. So to wrap things up, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this, part of the reason I'm doing this is I have just opened character commissions, and I do full body work. So basically exactly what you saw here today, just not, live streamed. And yeah, if you're interested in that, you can go to bwhcomics.com/commissions, or you can just scan the QR code that is right there. Just submit the request and we'll see what we can work out. All right, that's going to go ahead and wrap things for me. Thank you very much for joining. And until next time, rock on, guys, and never stop drawing.